fight fans? I'm Michelle Joy Phelps, and you're watching Behind the Gloves in association with SJAM Boxing. Now, so much has happened over the weekend, as you guys already know, but I haven't really had the opportunity to really talk about it all with anybody. So now I want to talk about it with a good friend of mine, Gareth A. Davies, including you fight fans. I definitely want to hear your opinions down in the comment section, and I will be replying. I want to know what you guys have thought of the topics that we're about to discuss. Now, firstly, I want to say, obviously, we're going to talk about Lomachenko versus Lopez, the poor judging that took place over the weekend, and how we believe things should change, and also Terrence Crawford versus Brook finally being announced for November the 14th. Now, guys, I have to warn you, both Gareth and I done our best when it came to the Wi-Fi here at the house. My nephew is being homeschooled, so when he's online, he has several Zoom sessions going on with classes. It sort of sucks up the Wi-Fi. So bear with me, as my Wi-Fi was sort of struggling for a little bit, and so was his, because he was sat in a car pretty much as the sun was going down, so the lighting changed a little bit. But we did our best, and I hope you guys enjoy the video.
I'm good. Ringed up. Yeah, I'm very good. I've missed your kind of deep belly laugh around the scene as much as I have the scene itself, to be honest. You know, it's been you and I haven't spoken in 7 months. I think we were Tyson Fury fight the last time. We saw each other in February. You know, you even maybe got even a bit more time with him than I did, which is, you've got to stop doing that. No, I've missed you. You look fantastic. You look how I feel, which is fantastic.
You look good yourself.
We are back. We are, you know, we're kind of back, but we're not, if you know what I mean.
Right.
You know.
Well, you know what? At the very least, we did have a really good fight over the weekend. You know, I did a poll, and no one had Teofimo Lopez winning. Now, granted, most of the time, people, when someone is relatively, you know, less experienced or unknown, they tend to go with the favorite, which is or was Lomachenko.
You know, all the lightweight baubles, arguably Vasyl Lomachenko is the number one pound for pound, or was the number one pound for pound on the planet. And, you know, like you and like many other people, I saw him as a 3-1 or 4-1 favorite against Teofimo Lopez. How did I see the fight? Well, no one could have predicted, when you were making those assertions going into the fight. We knew it was going to be bull against the matador, but Vasyl Lomachenko was undone by an extraordinarily clever game plan by Teofimo Lopez, who never overcommitted in the first 6 rounds. And I think Vasyl Lomachenko and his father, Popachenko, I think they underestimated the boxing ability of Teo. We could not have anticipated that Lomachenko would take 6 rounds to work him out. In fact, I gave the first 7 rounds to Teo.
Okay,
you know?
that's what I was going to ask you, because I actually gave Vasyl round 2. I saw several other people did too. Going into the 12th round, in my opinion, I thought that Lomachenko had to win the 12th in order to even get a draw.
There was an argument. Yeah, I know, exactly the same. That if you gave Loma the 7th, for example, which a lot of people have talked about as well, I didn't give it. I rewatched the 7th, and it was for me a clear. I mean, I scored it clearly 8-4 in rounds to Teo. I gave Loma 8, 9, 10, 11, and like you say, the 12th was clearly for Lopez as well. It was quite easy to score, I thought. In general, off the TV, I wasn't there live, but you could see, you look at what he did in those first 6 or 7 rounds. You can't make much of a case for him winning that fight, or at least even drawing it. You know, it's very close. He might have drawn it if he'd won the last round, potentially, if you'd given him the second or the seventh, or but he got his strategy completely wrong. That's why, and I mean, I'll let you ask me about the second fight, but he was outthought and outboxed and outtrenched in that fight, because Tio came back strong in that 12th round and was the guy that wanted it the most, even though he was fatigued, exhausted, the heavier man. And he had all the advantages anyway, really, in many ways. He was probably 15 pounds heavier than Vasyl Lomachenko in that ring, and he's always going to have those physical advantages. He's a much bigger man. Lomachenko, let's not forget, for anyone watching that doesn't know boxing, is actually a featherweight, you know?
Right. He was definitely at his peak in terms of weight. I don't think we're ever going to see Lomachenko go any larger. I don't think that works out very well for him in his career. I do want to talk a bit about the scorecards. Just overall on the weekend, we had some pretty dodgy stuff going on with the judges. The judges scored Loma Lopez as 116, 112, 119, 109, and 117, 111. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm sorry, but I can't agree with that.
No, it was a clear 116, 112 for me. You know, 8 rounds to 4. Julie Lederman's score of 11 rounds to 1 for Lopez was very poor, because clearly Vasyl Lomachenko came back into the fight. You have to give him at least 8, 9, maybe not all of those 4 rounds, but I think he won all those 4 rounds. He was much more aggressive.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's a very odd score, and it's down to incompetence, in my view. I mean, I spoke to Eddie Hearn yesterday, and he mentioned that scorecard. Eddie was in Antigua, and he was saying that he really does think, and I agree with this, that judges need to be called in by Boxing Board of Control or the different commissions in America and made to explain their score. Correct. In every other walk of life, if you get things wrong when it affects people's careers or the standing of the company or the profit margins of the company or the development of the company, you get made accountable and you're penalized for it, and you may lose your job or demoted or whatever it be. It does not happen enough in boxing, and it doesn't reflect well on the sport, because if the commissions are doing that, I don't think it's any wrongdoing or anything underhand. As Hearn mentioned, I agree with him. It's just incompetence. Right. And it's time that we, you know, everything's woke now, isn't it? Everything's radicalized. There's a lot of openness on the surface about so many things in life and society. It's time for boxing to catch up with the rest of society and do what everyone else does and make sure that people are accountable, you know? And that Lederman score was ridiculous, as was the score in the UK with Lewis Ritz and Miguel Vasquez
Yeah, let's talk a bit about that, because we know that Terry O'Connor, will appear before the BBFC board in regards to what appears, mind you, we don't know, it appears as though he is looking at his phone, although more video has come out that actually looks more like he's looking at a card. So I'm not quite sure what the situation is, but nonetheless, the judging itself was poor. So let's talk a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke about this on Talk Sport yesterday, and also wrote a piece in the Telegraph today following it up with comments from Hearn and also from Robert Smith, the Boxing Board of Control, that Terry O'Connor in this hearing will be asked to talk about the allegations that he was holding a mobile phone at ringside, and also to explain his score, to talk them through the 117, 111 score, which would have made it 9 rounds to 3 to Lewis Ritson. And I didn't score it like that. I scored 115, 113 to Vasquez, who was the busier throughout, and I thought made him miss and outboxed Lewis Ritson, who is the harder puncher. We know that. I watched the video back as well. The posturing and shape of his body when he's going through it, makes it look like he's looking at a mobile phone. Just for an instant, it looks like how you'd hold a mobile phone and flick through it, you know, with the thumb and those things in position. But Robert Smith asked me to go through and look at the video again, and I did. I looked at round 2 as well, and round 8, where he's actually got something tucked under his arm. I've known Terry a very long time, you know, probably 20, 25 years, and he's a really, really nice man, and I don't understand why he would have had a phone at ringside. It doesn't make any sense. I think they will have to look at the video. I think he'll have to explain it. And maybe it's just his body posture. They start about with 12 cards, and they fill them out and they pass them on. Hopefully it is a card, and it's just a discussion about incompetent scoring. Eddie called it horrendous scoring. Hopefully it is just about the card and nothing else. But let's all be clear, no one thinks that there's any kind of deliberate underhand stuff going on here from Terry O'Connor. He's not that kind of person, and I don't think he'll be accused of that kind of thing. There's no suggestion, not from me or anyone else, I don't think, that he's done anything deliberately underhand, even though Lou DiBella was very annoyed about it on Saturday night on his social media channel.
You know, one of the things I find myself most disappointed about in boxing is when the casual fans are watching that. Maybe they don't necessarily know how to score every round. Maybe they're just seeing it for what it is, and they're thinking, oh, well, that guy clearly won. When you see a robbery happen again and again and again, and all people are reading about is robbery all over social media, even in the headlines for newspapers, it kind of pisses, it's not kind of, but it pisses me off, because it makes me think this is why people always talk so much crap about boxing and how it's a fixed sport. So moving forward, like you were saying, I agree. I think that there should be accountability. I think they should be brought in. In fact, I think they should be recorded. And I think that the boxing fans should be allowed to hear what they say, because it doesn't make any sense. And you're right, it does ruin lives. These guys are training, for the most part, their entire lives for a big moment, a world title opportunity, for it only to be held in the hands of someone who's so reckless.
I completely agree. So I'm just trying to search my glasses here because it's getting dark and I've got shades on. There we go. Hang on. It's night time. Here we go. That's better. Sorry.
It's okay.
I had a bit of spectacle incompetence then. Yeah. Look, no, I completely agree, because people's careers are affected by it. You know, it could be based on one poor decision of one round. And it is time it was done. It really is.
There's no reversal. It's not like they can go back and say, well, now that we're going to score it differently, you know, you won.
Well, Michelle, there's an appeals process, of course, but then they got to fight the person again. You know, they won't overturn the decision because the judge got the score wrong. I think it really is time for it to happen. It really is. And Eddie Hearn again made a very good point about Matchroom oversees snooker and darts, and they have a separate disciplinary panel committee to the actual sanctioning body for the sport. So it's not like the sanctioning body is then hammering its own officials. There's a separate body that adjudicates on them. And I think that'll be a really good move, to have an independent body, like they do with drug testing, to have an independent body that judges and you have experienced people on those panels who know how fights should be judged. Judging is always subjective. The 10-point must system, people look at different things: aggressiveness, not necessarily punch volume, all those kind of things, ring generalship, footwork, defensiveness, all those qualities. It's a subjective, nuanced thing, isn't it? Based on certain parameters. There will always be strange scores. In very close rounds, sometimes, if you have 12 close rounds, someone can win 120, 108 on 3 cards, but it can be a very close fight. We know that. We've seen it before. No. Very close fight.
No, so moving forward, do you feel that there should be sort of a 3 strikes you're out sort of situation with the judges, or do you think?
No, No, I just think that they should be continuously educated in a process, and there
But
should
even
be
so,
a great. There should be.
Mhm.
But can I just finish? So, if you what you do is you have a ranking system for the best judges in the world. That's what I would do, and you go up and down those rankings. That's how I would do it. And when you have the biggest fights that are worth $200 million or $80 million, you bring in the three best possible judges in the ranking system to work on that fight, because then you can't get any better than that. So
right,
you have the very best that you've got. Do you know what I mean?
right. No, that
You
makes
know?
complete sense, actually, and I think that's a fantastic idea. Only
Thank you,
because
Michelle.
only because I know that, you know, what we're constantly witnessing are judges being brought in behind closed doors. We don't know what's been said. No one divulges any information. They don't have to answer to the press. It's
They
sort of
don't
like a slap
comment.
on the wrist to
Exactly.
get back at it.
Well, one of the reasons why we haven't heard from Terry O'Connor is that the judges and referees in Britain are not allowed to comment publicly. Only the board does, because they're board officials. And you can't have, judges and referees, making comments willy-nilly all over the place all the time. But yeah, it definitely needs addressing. And I think from this moment now, let's pledge, you and I, to start campaigning for this issue, and not just do it when a bad score comes up. Let's make this something current and something we talk about a lot. And I'm going to write some columns about it and bring it up on my radio shows and on my social media and all those places. And let's pledge to do it, because, years ago, myself, Lance Pugmire, and a couple of other journos in America, we pushed really hard for Pacquiao and Mayweather to happen. And little suggestions and pushes and pushes and pushes can make things happen. The media is influential and can be influential in a really good way.
Right.
Are you on? Are you on?
100%, I'm on board. I'm like anyone else watching and get pissed off. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, what can you do? What can you seriously do? And the worst part about it, Gareth, is that the boxer has to take the heat. It's not even the guy who got to call or make the decision. Like, he's sort of like, even if he is on the opposite side of a wrong call, you can't blame the fighter. He's not the one who made the decision, but yet he's the one who takes all the heat, or he and she takes all the heat. So it is a bit frustrating. But moving on, I definitely want to ask you about Terrence Crawford versus Kell Brook that just got announced for November 14th. Big opportunity for Kell Brook. Definitely think that it's his one last shot at a world title before because I know that there's been talks of retirement there with him. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, it's a great matchup. It's coming late in Kell's career. I think Terrence is at the peak of his powers, and he may even get better than this. But if Kell's really on his A game, and I'm disappointed he's not with Dominic Ingle for this fight, by the way. But he knows what he's doing, and it's all down to logistics and where they're based and so on. I think Kell's been training out in Spain, hasn't he? So, yeah, I mean, Kell's one of our greatest boxers in the mid-range, and that's where Terrence Crawford likes to operate from. And if Kell can time him, it could be a very, very interesting fight. Look what he did against Golovkin for a couple of 3 rounds against a guy who really he shouldn't have been in against in terms of size of man. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I think, again, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm lamenting the fact that I'm not there. That's the... Will you be there for it?
No, I won't be. I'm actually back. We'll be back in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a terrific fight. I'm really glad Kell's got it. I got them together at the you can take the clip from my YouTube if you want, my YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
I actually got them together to talk to each other at the Fury Wilder 2 fight.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I was working for TalkSport at the weigh-ins. Kell was live with us on the radio, and just as we finished, I went, Kell, there's Terrence. I came running over. I videoed them, and they were really respectful to each other. And Terrence said, "Make the weight, get the weight off," because Kell said, "I'm ready. Let's do it."
Mm-hmm.
And I know it helps. I mean, I'm not trying to take any credit for it. I'd love a percentage. That's all I'd want, yeah, I mean, that's the sorry, as the light fades here. Oh, as the light fades here, and my car's steaming up. What a mess.
Isn't it weird for us to sort of be operating at like home or in our cars or just in random places these days.
Listen, I would be in. I mean, yeah. I mean, I've just been on the move today, but it is interesting to be able to do it like this. Look, I think it's a really tough fight for Kell Brook. If he does it, it claims him legendary status, and
Yeah.
you know, if like I say, if Kell's coming at this because he really wants glory rather than a decent payday, then then it just could be an amazing fight. It really could be an amazing fight. But Terence is a special talent.
Mhm.
Before I forget,
Yeah.
can I just say about the second, if there can be a second Lomachenko um Lopez fight, I'd
Mhm.
really like to see it
Me
because I think
too.
Lomachenko would come and yeah, Lomachenko would really attack in the second fight. But the issue is Bob's going to have to pay Lopez a lot of money to fight Lomachenko a second time because he won't step in the ring otherwise. We're going to need crowds and we're going to need a pay-per-view event. If we get crowds by March, April next year, I could really see that as a 20,000 sellout in a rematch. A lot of people saying, oh, we don't want a rematch. No, there's so much more left.
Mhm.
If that had been a 15-round fight, I think Lomachenko would have won it in the old days. I really do.
Lopez's father says that there's a chance that they're going to move up to 140 because his son's been killing himself trying to make weight. Um, but I do agree. I do think that I don't know why other people online were saying that, oh, let's just move on. I'm like, okay, well, if he stays, if he stays at 135, like who's he going to fight? Who else is he going to
It's
fight?
still
He
a
has all the
brilliant fight.
marbles.
It's still a brilliant fight.
Yeah.
Four of those rounds, Lomachenko dominated. He will get started much earlier, in my view, in the second fight. It'll be riskier for him because Lopez is going to be able to hit him more, and he'll have all his marbles at that point, all his juice. But the second fight, I think, would be off the charts, and I really do hope that we can make it happen at some point, or Bob Arum can make it happen, and the guys can.
I'm surprised there was not a rematch clause for
Yeah,
such a
totally.
big fight like this. Were you as surprised? I mean, is there something I'm missing here? Why was there not
No,
a rematch in place?
the weird thing is, at Fight Camp 4, when we were all finally together and working on an event
Mhm.
at Eddie Hearn's Fight Camp 4, no one asked all week whether there was a Dillian White Povetkin rematch. There was, clause. There was, but because we were all out of practice and we hadn't thought about Dillian losing it, weirdly, or hadn't thought about the ramifications, no one asked Eddie in the week about the rematch clause. No one even mentioned it. It was really strange. I don't know whether it's something they overlooked or, again, whether they didn't take Tio's challenge seriously enough. I don't feel that fight is complete yet. I really that contest between them is complete yet. That's just my view. I'd love to see them fight a second time.
It really doesn't seem as though we're going to get that anytime soon, like unless, like you said, Bob Arum decides to make a very generous offer to Teofimo, because from the looks of it, I mean, he's even gone. Tio has gone as far as saying uh, Lomachenko's performance was, or he was very basic. He wasn't. He doesn't feel the need, and I don't blame him. I mean, if there's no rematch clause set, and I think that there was no rematch clause set because there was no intention for Lomachenko to want to rematch with Teofimo, because the idea was, I think for the most part with a lot of people, was that Lomachenko was going to win. So, it's interesting, but definitely what it turned out to not be a very smart move to not have a rematch clause in place. So
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Listen, Bob can make anything, and he's
it's
like
a huge
he's like the
fight. Like,
Wizard of Oz. He's the Wizard of Oz. He's like the Gandalf of boxing, isn't he? He's the Obi-Wan Kenobi of boxing Star Wars. So he can make it happen. He can still make it happen. And I think if the sums add up, then it will. But Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez. Oh God, there's a million of them. I
Jose
mean,
Ramirez.
I can see it. I mean, exactly, all of them. I mean, so it's up to him what he does. But and he may want to go on and not fight Vasyl Lomachenko again, but
Mhm.
it's one I'd like to see anyway. I'm starting to sound boring over that. And my power is very close to running out, by the way.
No, you know what? We're going to go ahead and wrap up here. I can sit here and ask you a million questions about the current state of boxing, but I really wanted to touch on those 3 topics. Thank you so much.
Give me a million reasons. Give me a million reasons. I need a million reasons. Sing it for me. Make it the end of the. I know because you. Yeah. Just do a bit of Gaga for me right now.
Do a what?
Lady Gaga. Do a little bit of Lady Gaga for me.
I don't even
give me
know
a million
any of
reasons.
songs.
Come on, give me a million reasons. Well, you got. Listen, I people say to me sometimes when I'm working on TV that I have more costume changes than at a Britney Spears concert. But you know, you know, look, you've been dressing up recently with all the exercise you're doing and getting fit. You know, you've had more costume changes than Lady Gaga recently, haven't you? You know,
I've been definitely, you know, getting my my fashion on in terms of gym apparel. So, and I've been getting some stuff sent to me, which is great. I wasn't expecting all that, so I can't complain with free. Do you know what I mean? So, if anybody else wants to send me anything, you know, hit up my DMs. But no, it's great speaking with you, Gareth. And you know what? I will be back in the UK very soon, and I will be going into the bubble. So hopefully we'll get an opportunity to sort of catch up and actually do an interview face to face. But I always respect and appreciate your opinion. So thank you for coming on. And when there's more news that keeps popping, it'd be great to have you back on.
it's my absolute pleasure to be on with you. Much love, and look forward to seeing you back soon in the UK.
Thank you. All right, I'll speak with you later.
Cheers.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Hey Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so by clicking this icon right here, or else